Welcome, everyone, to today's presentation and discussions on achieving sustainability through a greener economy. I'm delighted to be opening this event on behalf of the Institute of Southern Georgian Bay, together with Mayor Andrea Matrosovs of the town of the Blue Mountains. I'm Dale Bedell, and I'm a member of the Volunteer Board of Directors of the Institute. And for those of you not familiar with the Institute, a really special welcome here today. And there's a few slides I'm going to use just to give you a bit of context about what the Institute does. First of all, we're a volunteer-driven organization, and at every event, we strive to bring together a group as diverse as you from across the region in order to focus on three things that we feel we are able to do as the Institute. And that is connecting people, sharing knowledge and undertaking research, and as much as possible, we nurture collaboration. We've been working on specific tasks in 4 pillars: arts and culture, social finance and housing, business and innovation, and today's focus, a greener economy. We are motivated and informed by the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and the Institute has participated in 2 Collingwood World Summits so that we can align our progress to accelerate climate action, affordable housing, cultivating regional assets, and supporting an entrepreneurial social economy. And all of these can be found under SDG number 11. As you're going to hear in just a few moments, there's an awful lot going on in this region, working towards greening or conserving our economy. And I, for one, am hoping that I'm going to get clarification of those 2 terms so that I use them properly going forward. But one thing I'm really sure of is that we have got a lot of creative, entrepreneurial, and informed expertise in the room today. And I know you are building strategy and planning to address some of the thorniest challenges that we face across this region. So first and foremost, we're here to celebrate what you're already doing. Wouldn't it be great after today if we were able to map out organizations, municipalities, and businesses who are making sustainability a priority and share that as a resource across our region? I think it's an advantage that we live in a region with multiple municipalities sharing these same challenges, because everyone is doing great things independently, trying to address them. And it's not from a lack of desire to work together. It's so often the mechanism of making that happen that stands in the way. So how do we connect the dots? It's why we at the Institute nurture that broader collaborative action. For example, might we look at the benefits of a regional sustainability roundtable coming out of today's discussion? Just throwing that out there as an idea. Our approach to inclusion of all voices has helped us to generate really rich conversations through our events and our virtual events at the Institute. So please check out our website and look at our past reports, our events and gatherings, which are all a part of our young legacy. And if you aren't already, subscribe to our newsletter. Okay, enough product placement. When I say our, meaning the Institute, I mean that collectively. As our volunteer board chair, Roz Morrison, wave Roz, so aptly puts it, the Institute is all of us. If I look behind me, there's no institute there. Here today, the Institute is all of us. The discussions that are going to take place are going to reflect your thinking, your creativity, your innovativeness, and the commitment that we hope you will bring to find energy, synergy, and opportunities to collaborate further, or perhaps to collaborate on something for the first time, on a project or an initiative. We hope something like that will come out of today. We've got some specific objectives and outcomes. Those are going to become obvious when we get together in our tables a little later. But finally, may I remind us of one thing just to keep in mind as we engage today. I think we all want stronger relationships, and let's acknowledge that there does have to be trust if we're going to do that as we work towards collaboration. Catherine Daw, one of our speakers today, in her slides, spoiler alert, speaks to staying in our own lanes while sharing what we are doing so that we can go together. I think that beautifully sums up what we should aspire to here today. So, curious to know who's behind today's event. If you see your name on that slide, stand up and give a wave, real fast. Thank you. And great events don't happen without great support that allow us to keep these events free. Let us all thank the town of Collingwood, Clearview Township, Blue Mountain Resort, the town of the Blue Mountains, the municipalities of Meaford and Grey Highlands, and Community Futures, South Georgian Bay. And finally, it's my pleasure to introduce Mayor Andrea Matrosovs, to welcome you from the town of the Blue Mountains. For those of us who live in TBM, there is much to be excited and hopeful about for the action that's being taken by the mayor, her council, and the staff when it comes to sustainability in the greener economy. But I'm going to let her tell you about that. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. And it is with great pleasure that I welcome you here to the town of the Blue Mountains. We recognize that where we are meeting today, we recognize the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples as traditional stewards of this land where we are. Today, we are within the boundary of Treaty 18, the region of 1818, the traditional land of the Anishinaabeg, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat-Wyandot peoples. It is wonderful to be able to be part of this room and part of this energy that's already here, and there are so many overlapping circles. I look out in the room and I see so many people that I have met over the years who have had dedicated hearts and hands ready to help this South Georgian Bay region. Dale and myself go all the way back to South Georgian Bay United Way days, so it is fantastic to see that, but also to see faces that I don't know that I look forward to meeting. We are truly here on behalf of all of council here. It is a pleasure to be able to participate in today. From the municipal perspective, we are always talking and thinking regionally, and whether or not that's county and or South Georgian Bay, it makes sense for us for environmental stewardship, for social cultural vitality, and for economic prosperity. And all three of those pillars of sustainability we will explore today in the context of a greener economy. Our human and our nature ecosystems coexist here. And we recognize, and the watershed recognizes no political boundaries. The humans that are living and playing and working here and trying to find a place to live here, nobody is recognizing that political boundary that we cross when we're finding what we need or when we're thinking about ways that we can contribute. So together, we can search for and support and hopefully create initiatives that will lessen our human activities' impact on the environment in the context of what we're discussing today and in all of the work that we do together. Now, I would just like to lay the groundwork on a focus of just two items that are here in our Integrated Community Sustainability Plan. This was not just built by staff, it was not just built by council, it was built in great collaboration with the community members here in the town of Blue Mountains. It's our guiding principle from this path forward, and we have 20 bold actions in there. There are two that speak specifically to what we're talking about today, and I will just introduce them very briefly because our expert here on the stage, Jeff Fletcher, will be able to dig right into the details for you and share with you the successes what we've had, but also the way forward into the future. So bold action number 13, one of the two ones that specifically speaks to what we're doing here today, is to establish or support a green economic task force to help identify economic opportunities in community. And we recognize that that doesn't necessarily need to be only in the Town of the Blue Mountains initiative. Here, as we've heard, there is an opportunity for us to bridge that across South Georgian Bay and contemplate how we might be able to achieve a critical mass and be able to do more together. Because whether or not we're here, or Mayor Measures here in Clearview, or Deb over there in Collingwood, no matter which of the municipalities we're in, we are always looking for ways in which we can help support that triple bottom line. Businesses and industries that can help contribute towards people, prosperity, and the planet at the same time. So talking about and constructing some sort of green economic hub on a regional scale is a very valuable conversation to have. It allows us to be cohesive and collaborative, so as we attract new enterprises coming into the area, or we help existing ones go greener, they don't have to say, well, because my business is here, what does that mean for me? It's a holistic answer that we can achieve together. And it's part of the reason why my fellow mayors and CAOs, why in South Georgian Bay, we get together on a regular basis to look for solutions that we can do together. But it doesn't stop at that political layer. It's also so very much in these communities, such as the community organizations such as the Institute, and so many of the organizations I see represented here today. Realizing that residents live, work, and play across the boundaries. And so does our economic development. And that's why we're gathered here today. And the only other bold action I'd like to focus on is developing the Circular Economy Recommendation Report. Again, we have good things happening right now, and I see members of the community that are partaking in various different successes there. But it allows us to talk about how we can expand that circular economy programming and how we can build on it and support people who come together with great ideas. And I'll leave that to Jeff to be able to talk further. So in conclusion, I would like to thank the Institute, and I really like the way that you framed that, Dale, that it's not a building, it's not a specific list of people, it is everybody that's in this room today, and it is all those circles that you work with outside of this room as well. So thank you for inviting the Town of Blue Mountains and each of our South Georgian Bay municipalities for participating as sponsors, as partners, and as active participants at the tables talking together today. We are all on the same page. Our daily lives and economic activity cross those political boundaries, and this is the kind of critical mass that allows us to build those solutions together. Here in this room today can be the start of actual actionable items that we can follow through on. It will help us to balance our economic prosperity, our environmental stewardship, and the social vitality in all of our South Georgian Bay communities. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. And you might think that Andrea and I shared our notes ahead of time, and we didn't. We're right on, we're right in sync. Okay, let's get on with it. Let's get on with the first panel. I am pleased to introduce, and I told all the panelists, despite all the great things that they've done, I'm not going to spend any time talking about it. Instead, I just want to introduce Ted Chrysler, who's a board member with Wasaga Beach Climate Action Team, Rebecca Denard, manager of climate change initiatives in Grey County, Catherine Daw, who's the chair of the Collingwood Climate Action Team, Jeffrey Fletcher, manager of sustainability and solid waste, Town of the Blue Mountains, and Nicole Yardy, climate change specialist, Collingwood. So we're going to kick it off, folks, starting with Ted, and you all know your marching orders. 5 minutes, 3 slides, pass the mic, go.
Okay, well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this morning, and welcome to everybody. I'm on the board of the Wasaga Beach Climate Action Team, Ted Chrysler, and the Climate Action Team in Wasaga has been going about 3 years now. Our mission is to work collaboratively with the local government and the community, which includes businesses as well as individuals, to inspire climate change action. Emphasis on action, as you can see. We have various projects that we've been doing over the past 3 years. Firstly, we're very keen on green development standards. So we've started working with developers to try to instill the need for green standards in new builds. There's a lot of new building going on in Wasaga. It's very, very busy, lots of projects. And it's important that we start focusing on non-carbon approaches to that. We're also participating in the bylaw update process, and the town is very busy figuring out how the future is going to look for the town and planning as well. So we want to be part of that. Next, we provide information to the public about action they can take on climate change, and this can take a variety of approaches. We participate in different events like Seniors Expo, the Farmers Market, going to trade shows, and different festivals. We're providing information on home efficiency and home energy improvement, participating in the Carbon Footprint Challenge along with the Collingwood Climate Action Team, and information about electric vehicles. So lots going on there. There's lots of things that people can do on an individual basis. So it's important to provide that information because we do find that there is a lack of information or too much information for them to actually put their arms around. We want to support the town in its green pillar. That's one of the pillars of the Wasaga Beach Council's term of office, and we're thrilled that they have decided to focus on that. That means encouraging complete, i.e. 15-minute communities, and it's not a bad word, 15-minute communities. Demonstrating leadership in responding to climate change, ensuring green approach to the redevelopment of Beach Area 1, which is going to be ongoing over the next few years. If you've been to Wasaga, the main drag area where everybody goes is going to get redeveloped, so we're quite keen to ensure that that's done in a green and sustainable manner. Electrifying the town fleet, exploring retrofits for town buildings, improving active transportation, including trails and bicycling, applying a climate lens to town activities, and we have a new Climate Action Advisory Committee which will be starting in November, so we're absolutely thrilled to be part of that. Kathleen Caswell and myself are the Climate Action Team members on that. Lastly, a Green Certificate Program for Business, which has been in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce for the past 2 years and has been a very popular program with our local businesses, and again, we're thrilled that they're participating and making active changes within their business. Next slide. All right, we recently did a home energy improvement symposium, which was, in my view, wildly successful. We had more than 100 people attend. There's a real thirst for knowledge in this area. People want to know how to transition to heat pumps and non-carbon alternatives, and how to participate in the Canada Greener Homes grants and loans programs. They take advantage of the money that's out there from the federal government. People also want to know how to save money in general and how to help with climate change. I think we have to pitch it as, hey, you're going to save money, and by the way, the great thing is you're also going to help the climate and our environment. The green economy opportunity could be focused on this area in our view, on energy efficiency with a push to transition from carbon heating sources to carbon zero, working with HVAC providers and the town and local citizens. So it's an exciting opportunity, and we're pondering how to use this platform to do more. And I also think it could be done on a regional basis. So Southern Georgian Bay could be a leader by collaborating across the region and setting the same standards. Why not? Next slide. So we do have some challenges, and I think everyone in the room who relies on volunteers will recognize the first one. We need more volunteers. There's a real lack of volunteers, and I think partly that came out of COVID, where people sort of retreated and they haven't fully come out of the COVID shell, but definitely need more volunteers, and especially, and everyone says the same thing, younger volunteers. So that's a real challenge. Also a lack of funding, so collaborating on a regional basis might help with fundraising. We do pretty well. We do fundraising events during the year. We did a wine tasting event, which I helped lead, as I have a wine education background as well. So we're trying to be creative in determining how to raise funds. Also, how to incorporate green building standards in new builds, because there aren't really any grants for new builds. So what can we do to encourage, again, the development of green standards and in the new builds that are going on? And we want them to be carbon zero and either use heat pumps or geothermal sources. We are going to be creating a climate action plan for the town through the Climate Action Advisory Committee, working with the town, and that's going to be exciting. And hopefully that might be something that we could work on a regional basis as well with our neighboring municipalities. Affordability is also a challenge. How do you make sure that things are going to be green and sustainable, yet still affordable? So we have to crack that nut as well. And there's also a lack of metrics to gauge success. So this is another thing we're interested in finding out more about. And I look forward to hearing from everyone else on the panel. And I think my 5 minutes is up. And thank you very much for listening. I look forward to questions.
Okay, thank you very much. That's really great to hear. I'm Rebecca Daynard. I'm the Climate Change Initiatives Manager at Grey County. Next slide. That's just my title slide. There we go. So I'm going to give you a whirlwind tour of where we've been and where we're at and where we're going. So in 2022, in April, Grey County declared a climate emergency and got to work on our climate action plan, which is called Going Green and Grey, which was adopted by Council. This plan has 21 community actions, which would be in sort of engaging citizens and businesses and everybody else in climate action, as well as 13 corporate actions, which is the responsibility of the county itself for our own greening our work. We have some ambitious but hopefully achievable targets of net zero for the community by 2050 and for our corporate operations by 2045. And they hired a climate change initiatives manager, who is not me, that is Linda. And she is currently on mat leave, so that is why I am here today, working on these projects and keeping them going while she's looking after her new little person. Next slide, please. So this is where we're at today. We have a climate change team of 3, which is me, Rebecca Daynard. We also recently hired 2 additional staff people for our team, our outreach coordinator, Megan Miles, and our climate change data coordinator, Kieran Adajithala. And he's going to be working on that metrics conversation. We just had a big meeting about that, so we're going to try and figure out how we're going to measure progress and whatnot. So a quick overview of some of the programs that we've done, or an experimental acres program. It's supporting local farmers to take that next step of doing something different and trying something that would lead to more sustainable outcomes. This is a collaboration with Wellington and Dufferin County. Another collaboration is the Rural Recharge, which is a public EV charging network, and that's a collaboration actually with 5 other counties, Bruce, Grey, Huron, Perth, Dufferin, and Wellington. And so we're getting a systematic EV charging system so that anywhere you want to drive in the county, you'll never be more than 30 minutes away from a charger that will get you going, so that we have much more ability for people to drive around and not be anxious about where they're going to charge. Green Development Standards, we are on it. So this is another collaboration with Wellington and Dufferin. We're looking to create green development standards for new housing builds that would be unified across all of our 3 counties and the 24 member municipalities that makes up. So that is quite a logistical challenge to get 24 municipalities all on the same page, but we are up for it. We have our first meeting with our consultant next week, so we're getting started. We're looking for community consultation on that project and looking for that push to really get us to the point where we're developing new green standards for new builds. We are also doing some Transform the Lawn at our county building. So we're doing some planting of native trees and pollinator gardens to sort of get that large expanse of monoculture grass with a bit more interesting things going on. So that's one that's kind of it's a sort of an example project that we hope will be replicated in other places. We're also having a net zero ready design for our Rockwood Terrace, which is the long-term care home that's being redeveloped. If this goes forward, it's one of the first net zero ready long-term care homes in the province. Long-term care homes have particularly high energy needs, so it's really hard to get there, so we're doing our best. We also have a Youth Action Climate Conference coming up on November 21st, and we're still looking for volunteers for that, so if anybody is interested in mentoring some inspired and inspiring young people to get a community project going, that would be great. Okay, next please. So this is where we're going in the future, and I realize this slide is 2 weeks old since it has the 2 billion trees program on there. We're looking for a collaborative tree planting project that will sort of bring in all of our member municipalities to work together. That may or may not end up being 2 billion trees. We're kind of working out the pros and cons of, we got some good project ideas, and it's just matching it to the right funding stream. We're also looking at some community efficiency financing. So this would be addressing the retrofit for existing housing stock. Hopefully, we're doing a feasibility study and a design to see if we could have a program that would be run by the county that would help to finance some of that retrofit work. We are looking at getting some EV chargers for our own fleet in our transport depots. That's coming up. The funding just opened a couple of days ago, so we are working on that. And as well as a net zero retrofit for Sydenham campus, which is our innovation center. We're also planning to work on our adaptation plan in 2024. So that will be a plan that we're hoping as well to engage lots of community about. And I'm going to add one more because I'm inspired by the conversations. This is off the cuff. In my previous role, I ran a Green Economy Hub in Sudbury, which is actually still where I live. It's associated with Green Economy Canada. So if there's any interest in that kind of formalized Green Economy Hub, happy to have conversations about that. That's not really Grey County yet, but maybe there's potential for that. Okay, thank you.
Great.
Okay, I feel like I'm getting windburn and I haven't even started to talk yet. I'm Catherine Daw with the Collingwood Climate Action Team. And I'm starting off by just talking about these, and I call them 3 pillars, but there's 3 pillars, so it's 2 times 3. And really, I think what we need to understand is that these pillars are how we as the Collingwood Climate Action Team have seen things from the get-go. First of all, who is responsible for this work? Many people would say government, or they might say business. They often don't say citizens. And I would say that all of us are in this together. This is a transformation, not a transition. This is moving us to a future that's different, that's uncertain, and that we're not clear on where we're going, and we'll know only when we get there. And the future is actually today, because we can start to see some of the things that are happening, which is really very exciting. So I say that the responsibility sits everywhere, not just with government or business. The other circle is really about the 3 intersections of core elements of this kind of a transformation. We have social equity, which is critically important, because if we don't get everybody to go along and we leave people behind, then we haven't done our job. The next is that we have economic viability, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to live the same capitalist economy that we've had in the past. We're going to have to change that. Growth is not the way that we can start thinking. We can't run with GDP anymore. We have to become more growth agnostic. It doesn't mean that there won't be growth, but it'll be growth that is well organized and well planned. And then finally, the environmental protection piece, which covers a lot of pieces. It covers climate change, it covers biodiversity, it covers acidification of oceans, it covers land protection and land use. There's a lot of things that go into this. In our world, at the Climate Action Team, we've really focused on the lane of carbon reduction, and that is the lane that we play in. And in doing that, we want to build community, we want to involve citizens, business, the town, and nonprofit organizations. We want to develop a common understanding of what climate change is and the actions that we can take all together. We want to educate on what solutions are available, because amazingly, there are solutions. We don't have to go and start building new ones. They already exist today. And we're seeing some of them happen. It's a very exciting time. It's an uncertain and scary time, but it's also a very exciting time, because I can't imagine that I would be saying that I'm driving an electric vehicle today if you were talking to me 10 years ago. And finally, that we want to promote inclusion, resilience, and sustainability, and all the changes that we need. Next slide. So I just want to share a little bit about the progress that we've made. We started in 2019, and we had, the challenges of COVID, obviously, for everyone. But one of the things that we've really worked hard on is having a strong community reputation. We want to be inclusive. There's no shame, there's no blame, there's no judgment in terms of where people are coming from or where they want to go, and that we're all in this together, that we can't do this if we're leaving people behind. And so we have a very viable and positive working relationship with the town and the council and the staff. And that's really critically important because to approach it this way allows us to be partnering and talking to each other and being respectful and yet being assertive in our approach. We have built a carbon footprint project, which we have launched. We launched in 2021, and we launched it not just for the Collingwood town, but at the encouragement of a number of people, including the Institute, and some funding from them, we were able to turn it into a regional project, and it covers 8 municipalities from Owen Sound to Georgian Bluffs, Meaford, Grey Highlands, and the rest, all the way over to Wasaga Beach. Some of them have joined and are very active in it, and some are not as active, and we're continuing to encourage them to do that. I do want to report on, though, so that you just know, that we've already had over 500 households participate to date across the region, and that the average regional household footprint is 21.4 carbon tons. That's pretty high. And that's per household. So, you know, some households are 3, some households are 4, some are 2, or even 1. The goal is for us to reduce that to 10 carbon tons or less. And I know that sounds really scary, but if you think of it by breaking it up into a number of years, that means that on average, over a 7-year period, on average, you're reducing your footprint by about 5%, then you are on your way to getting from 21 to 10. And I'm there. I'm at 7 carbon tons in our household of 2. We've done a number of workshops. We also have a belief in not reinventing the wheel. So we have made sure that we are doing workshops that are helping other people. And we do climate cafes. We have open events, and we've also partnered with a number of groups, including the Georgian College, on those events. And we have a growing supporter list of volunteers. Next slide. So we have a 5-year strategic plan that the team has been working on, which we'll be launching in January. We have 4 pillars that we're focusing on over the short term. Advocacy, which is what we've been continuing. We're reframing our carbon footprint project and refreshing it. We're continuing our workshops cafe, and we're adding some learning and action-taking opportunities. And our boldest action is the Greening Homes program, which covers retrofits as well as new builds. And of course, as everybody's already said, green development standards, it's a thing, and it's a very important thing for all of us. And the last piece that I really want to talk about is communications and partnerships. So we've already started and continue to network across the region. In fact, we just submitted to the Ontario Trillium Foundation for us to receive some funding to actually work on regionalizing all of the climate action teams in the area. So we're hoping that we get that funding, and if we don't, we'll find some way to get that kind of funding. Staying in our own lanes and sharing what we are doing and how we go together is a critical element of success for us all, and in particular in a region that is so rich with beauty and biodiversity that needs to be protected, sustained in so many ways, while building levels of resilience for what the future will hold for all of us. And with that, I'd like to also say that I've really appreciated, and we at the Collingwood Climate Action Team have appreciated the Institute's work. We've participated in it actively, and we are looking forward to the rest of today's event. Thank you.
Hello. Yes, this one works too. Great. Okay. So that's my first slide, but that's a cheater slide, doesn't count. Go to the next slide. Oh, yes. And I have things we have to click through, so click again. So here is our plan. So this was an effort to sort of describe how our integrated community sustainability plan will work with other plans, and towns, municipalities have many plans, strategies. So we looked at the sustainability plan as a foundational plan, and so a lot of the the core values of the sustainability plan would work up through all the other plans and work up into the official plan and our budget and all those sorts of things. So that's just sort of to frame where our sustainability plan fits within the municipality. If you can click again. So our sustainability plan was created, as Andrea mentioned, with a number of community members, and we had a committee, and we basically in the end came up with four four big moves. And the first one was create climate solutions. And if you can click again, the next is building sustainable neighborhoods. And again, growing an innovative and thriving economy. And one more time, and collaborate and take action. So these big moves worked into what we call bold actions. And if you can click again for me, we have a whole bunch of bold actions. And so there's many things to talk about here. Andrea touched on a few. They're very familiar, I would say. If you click again, a couple times, I'm going to focus on two because we have some things already finished in this area or developing in this area. So if you can go to the next slide. So this is where our policy comes in. We've created net zero emissions municipal buildings policies. This is a corporate policy. And along with that, we've also created, if you can click again, municipal construction waste and deconstruction policy. So these two policies work to, one, to build municipal buildings that have zero emissions, with an effort, and this comes out of sort of the drivers for these two policies come out of the Climate Emergency Declaration and also our energy plan for the municipality, which had a focus on creating net zero emissions buildings. So these two policies, and again, if I can talk a bit about the deconstruction policy, basically we're looking at if we have to remove a municipal building, it has to be done in such a way where 75% of the materials are diverted. So that's sort of instead of demolishing a building, we would go through a process of deconstructing it and using as many of those materials as we can. So the other is during the construction of a building, we would have a goal of diverting most of the materials that we don't use in the construction of the building. If you click on this again, so some of the outcomes, and I've used this one to sort of describe how we're working towards, how these help work towards a green economy. And if you can just keep clicking, we get more jobs, we use materials in a circular manner, we use renewables as a means of energizing the buildings. There's longer term cost benefits. We continue with the municipal services, which is important. We need to provide these services the community needs. We do need to build new buildings. And we also, in the end, result in zero operating emissions. So all these things, if you can click a couple more times for me, all these things, and again, please click, work towards, I would say, stepping stones towards, clicking again, a green economy. So there it is. And really these things, the economy is a human construct. And if we spend money on our values, then we can build these green economies. And if our values are these, within these list of things, then we can work towards developing what we're all here for today. So next slide, please. So this is a project, and will become sort of a program as well. And under this one, this is a natural asset inventory, and we've just initiated this project. And this project, if you can click on a couple times for me, I'm just going to check my notes. This project has a few elements, and basically we are looking to identify all of the natural assets and in the municipality. And we do this by using basically points, lines, and polygons. And it's a process of using many different map sources, but in the end, what we end up with is inventory of every stream segment, every street tree is the hope, and we've been working with local, give me 1 minute, I have so much more to talk about. We're working with local volunteers to help develop a street tree inventory. And if you click on a couple more times, so what we do is we each area, so each line segment, each polygon of area, we value it, we give it a condition, and we apply a risk or how vulnerable it is to things like climate change. What this does, and I want to get this right because this is an important part. So this process, it basically mirrors our gray infrastructure inventory, and by conceptualizing nature as an asset, the municipality can codify, measure, and track ways the community and citizens depend on nature. Knowing condition and risks they are prone to is an avenue for informed decisions about how we manage the assets. This parallels the approach taken for municipal built-in assets and is essential to ensuring the value of municipal natural assets and their ability to deliver services that don't diminish over time. So if you can click a couple more times. So understanding the value leads to better policy, and next step for us after the inventory, obviously we'll use this inventory. It can become a really great metric for understanding where we were at a point in time and where we're going, especially with things like having all our street trees inventoried. And we also we don't just look at municipal lands in this process, we look at all land, and we might classify it not as municipal land, but the mention of, streams don't know ownership lines, and so we need to look at the entire landscape, not just municipal assets. And just our next step will be a biodiversity strategy. So that's all. Hopefully that's a deep dive for everyone.
And as Dale introduced, my name's Nicole Yardy. I'm the climate change specialist for the town of Collingwood. So hopefully in 5 minutes, I will bring you through 5 years of climate action in Collingwood. Fingers crossed. So we'll start right off with the strategic direction. Why is Collingwood talking about climate change? And that came from a council declaration of a climate crisis. Collingwood was the first municipality in Simcoe to pass a climate crisis or climate emergency declaration. And this was really driven by youth. So in September 2019, grade 11 and 12 students organized a climate march in Collingwood. So students from Collingwood Collegiate Institute rallied and walked from their school to the downtown municipal building, and you can see some pictures on the right there. So they took that 10-minute walk and rallied over 100 people to demand that the municipality put more focus on climate change and take action. So this led, from the firsthand accounts I've heard, was very inspirational to both council and community members to see youth taking on an active role in municipal politics, I guess, and using their voice. I'm sure we all have teens in our lives that don't speak to us. This was a demonstration of how teens did use their voice for good. And I'd like to call out one quote from the councillor who brought forward this motion. And he said, "The motion in front of us isn't the first step, but it's an essential step in order to put climate at the forefront of every conversation and every decision council will make from this day forward." And I'd like you to remember that for my last slide. Next slide, please. So that climate crisis declaration really spearheaded all the action that's on the slide, and this is not a comprehensive list of all the things that have been done. I will call out my position was brought forward in October of 2021 with the main mandates of creating a corporate climate change action plan and a community climate change action plan. This year, in April of 2023, we adopted the corporate climate action plan, and our community climate action plan is in progress. Next slide, please. What I'll spend most of my time talking about today is the visions of our corporate climate action plans and what actions we're taking in order to get us closer to those visions. So on the right side, you'll see the 3 visions outlined in our corporate plan. And on the left side, just some examples of what we're doing. So the first vision is to integrate climate change and sustainability into the town of Collingwood's corporate culture. And that goes back to that quote. Climate change needs to be in every discussion we have, whether it be from the Trails and Active Transportation Committee to the Heritage Committee to talking with your manager about what vehicles you use to get around. So in order to make this more normal and make these conversations happen more, we are integrating climate change, sustainability, and environmental considerations into all of the committees of council, task forces, and boards, with that goal of encouraging climate communication. It shouldn't be weird to bring up climate change in basically any discussion. The second vision we have is to reduce corporate greenhouse gas emissions by a minimum of 30% below 2019 levels by 2030. One of the big projects we're doing right now and about halfway through is a greenhouse gas reduction pathway feasibility study. And this is in line with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund to decrease greenhouse gas emissions within municipal buildings by 50% within 10 years and 80% within 20 years. The town has applied to do this for 42 of our municipal buildings, which is just about all of them. We may be missing about 3. And we're, as I said, about halfway through this project. We just finished site visits and expect the final result to come in Q1 of next year. And that'll really give us basically a shopping list of what we need to do to retrofit our current buildings to be more sustainable. The third action is become a corporate and municipal leader in sustainability initiatives and greenhouse gas reduction measures in the region. And what we're doing to move that forward is we've committed to creating a community climate change action plan. And the goal of this plan will be to encourage and enable collaboration between the town, businesses, and community members to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Going back to Catherine's comment, we all are on the hook for this. It's not just a municipal issue, it's a citizen issue, it's a global issue. So we all need to be talking about moving this portfolio and the green economy and climate change forward so that our future generations can enjoy the world that we live in.
Panel, I think maybe you feel like you've just been through a speed dating exercise. That was awesome. And truly, the word collaborate came multiple times out of each one of you. And I think for those of you in the audience who had burning questions, continue to hold those, because one of my jobs is to keep us on time. And I don't think we wanted to dispense with any of the comments that were made here today. But in lieu of going to an audience Q&A, could you retain those questions and make sure that you address them to one or more of our speakers when there's some time to gather? And I want to thank each one of you. You all did a terrific job at following instructions, but more importantly, I think drawing together in 5 minutes what are the key activities and aspirations that you are all working on. And just as I said in my opening remarks, I knew it would be inspiring, I knew it would be energizing, and there is certainly synergy here. So thank you again.